All right, well, the first thing we're going to do is take a look at this vocabulary list for this week, the Lesson 7 vocabulary. And I just wanted to go through kind of these mnemonics, help you understand a little bit about these words, hopefully make it easier for you to memorize them. So the first word we have here is shame. It sounds just like the English word shame. It's the word for name or reputation, and just a way of connecting shame with name or reputation. First of all, it rhymes with name, and then someone might be ashamed of their reputation. So one memory aid would be the name Adolf is unpopular because of the shame of Hitler's reputation. So that's just one way to connect name and reputation with the word shame in Hebrew. Next we have the verb darash. Darash, you can tell, is a cow-perfect verb because it has the kametz patach vowel pattern here. Darash in the cow-perfect 3ms means he sought or he inquired. So the doctor sought or inquired as to the cause of darash on his patient's arm. So most people will associate darash with a rash of some sort and trying to figure out the source of it. So you seek the source, you inquire about the source, where did it come from? Darash is maybe even investigate or search into, something like that. Next we have zavach. Zavach is another verb, cow-perfect 3ms. We've got the kametz patach pattern here. Zavach means he slaughtered or he sacrificed. And the mnemonic I have here is Zavach to the slaughter, or the walk. Zavach, I guess imagine that you have a German accent. Zavach to the slaughter, or Zavach to the sacrifice, was somber. So here, the weakness of this mnemonic is that I'm treating slaughter and sacrifice here as a noun rather than a verb. But I hope that you can somehow connect this meaning of slaughter or sacrifice with zavach, because we've actually got two other words in this list that are related to this word. So just a note on this one, the vowel pattern in this word, which is that kametz patach pattern, is what tells you that this is the verb. You do not want to confuse this verbal form with the segulate noun form, zevach, which is what we have down here below. All right, so we'll get to zevach in a moment. Next we have the verb yada. Yada, again, kametz patach pattern. This is a cow-perfect 3ms. It means he knew or he cared about. So the mnemonic here, Yoda knows the ways of the Jedi. And you might even be able to connect Yoda and Jedi, if you have a similarity between the J and the Y, to yada, but the idea here is to know. This word gets used a lot of different ways in Hebrew, but usually it's related to the idea of familiarity, something like that. All right, next we have Yeshav. Yeshav, this means he sat, he dwelt, or he inhabited. Again, we've got the kametz patach vowel pattern here indicating a cow-perfect 3ms. And my mnemonic here is, if squatters sit, dwell, or inhabit your house, you shove them out the door. You shove them out the door. All right, so hopefully that's helpful, maybe not, but some way to kind of connect yeshav with sit, dwell, inhabit. All right, next we have zavach. Zavach is the noun form of sacrifice. So zavach is the verbal form. Zavach is the noun form. And this is a segulate pattern. I know that we've only got one segel here rather than segel like eretz or something like that. The reason why we've got a patach here is because we have the chet on the end, and these gutturals, especially chet and ayin, really prefer A-class vowels, so you will often see an A-class vowel before a chet or an ayin, where you might otherwise expect a different vowel. But this is segulate. It is two short vowels, and it's accented on the second to last syllable. That's kind of the definition of a segulate noun. So you do want to recognize that this form, with the segel patach, this is the noun form. With the kametz patach, this is the verb form. So keep these distinct. If there's a helpful way for you to, associate, honestly, it should be pretty easy because all of your verbs so far, with the exception of kaved, have the kametz patach pattern, and that's what you have in zavach. So when you see zavach, you should be thinking the verb, so that when you see Zavach, you can recognize, okay, this does not have the kametz in R1, and so this must be a noun form. All right, make sure I don't have any other note here. All right, next we have lave or levav. This is really the word for inner self. It often gets translated as heart, but it can also just as easily and just as frequently get translated as mind. This is a word that in Hebrew doesn't distinguish between the emotional side, which we usually attribute to the heart, and the rational side, which we usually attribute to the mind. Hebrew doesn't distinguish between heart and mind in that same way that we do. And so levav, even though it's translated heart most often, it really means the inner person. So your thoughts, your feelings, all of that is encompassed by levav. And the mnemonic here, I don't know if you guys have ever heard this song, but Tony Bennett had a song called I Left My Heart in San Francisco. So I just finessed it into I laved my heart in San Francisco. All right, next we have Miz Bayach. Miz Bayach. And you can see, even in this word, we have that Zayin Beit Chet root that we had up here with Zavach and with Zavach. So Zayin Beit Chet, this root shows up in all three of these words. What Hebrew will often do is it will take a verbal root and it will add a mem to the beginning of it, and that will sort of, the expression for it is it will nominalize the root, which means it will turn it into a noun. And so if Zavach means he slaughtered or he sacrificed, and Zavach is the sacrifice, the Miz Bayach is the location of the sacrifice or the altar. All right, so another note here that even though Miz Bayach itself looks masculine singular, well, it is masculine singular, even though it's masculine singular, the plural form looks feminine. The plural form of this is mizbachot. Now, the plural form is mizbachot. The plural form is still masculine. It's still masculine plural. It just looks feminine, similar to av and avot. Avot looks feminine with that holam vav tav ending. So here mizbachot looks feminine with the holam vav tav ending, but it's really masculine plural. All right, next we have mishpat. Mishpat. And this is also related to the root that we had earlier, shin, pei, tet, shafat, which means he judged or he decided. So what we've done, again, is we've taken the verbal root, we've added a mem to the front, and so we've nominalized this. So instead of he decided or he judged, mishpat becomes judgment or decision. All right. Let's see here. Next we have Am. Am is the word for people, but Am, you'll notice, is a singular form. This is called a collective noun or a collective singular, where the singular form refers to a group, a single group, but that group contains plurality. So when you do see Am in its plural form, which would be Amim, that is then going to refer to multiple groups of people. So it's often used in the context of ethnicity, so the people of Aram, the people of Moab, the people of Edom, those locations. Am often gets used as an ethnic designation, but it really does mean group of people. And so when you see Amim, you can think of it as people groups. All right, so that's all the vocabulary for this week. If you have any better memory aids, feel free to add them in here in the extra columns that we have. Anything that you come up with is probably going to be more effective for you personally, but it's always interesting to see what other people come up with to kind of help you create something of your own.